Good evening, Mr. Bond fans. You can tell that I've clearly been very much influenced by the fact that I have recently replayed my way through the EA Games 2005 video game adaptation of From Russia With Love, that today, for this video, looking back at an older review, I have chosen to look back at the second full-length Bond video review I ever made for this channel way back in the medieval days of 2009-2010. As I say, this was only the second full video review that I ever made for this channel, so I am expecting this to be very ropey. I am expecting me to be very wooden on camera. I am half expecting it to not even have that many observations about the film, to just be sort of talking through the narrative and then giving a brief summary at the end. It took me a little while. I think you can tell if you've watched many of these older videos. It took me a little while to kind of find a, find a groove, if you will. And I don't think, I don't think I was anywhere near that groove when I was making this particular video. But who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe it'll be a masterpiece. It won't be. In terms of what I think my opinions of the film are going to be at this time, I think I'm going to be perhaps slightly petulant about it. You'll see that in some of these earlier, older videos I was, I've talked about this many times before. At this particular time on the internet, it was very much in vogue to be ranting about films and stuff. So even though I have an awful lot of love for this series, this was not one of my favourite films at that time. It's never really been one of my favourite films in this series, I'm perhaps slightly ashamed to say, so I think I'll probably be dialing that up a bit, if you will, for the purposes of this video. I might be wrong though, maybe I'll surprise us all. Like I say, I haven't seen this in well over a decade, so maybe young Calvin will surprise us all and have a terribly mature and thoughtful take on this classic Bond film. He won't do. Okay, here goes.
Before I start this, I'd like to point out once again that I know that this isn't the poster from Russia With Love, but it's the only Connery poster I have, so, gotta have something there. Anyway, From Russia With Love.
The film opens, as many Bond films do, with the gun barrel opening. We then see Sean Connery being chased around a mansion garden at night by Quint from Jaws. Red Grant, played by Robert Shaw, who played Quint in Jaws.
James Bond's dead?
No, he's not dead. He's just a man with a mustache wearing a mask of Sean Connery. And this turns out to be nothing more than a Spectre training exercise. After the credits, we are introduced to Cronston, one of the film's main villains, playing chess.
Cronston's assumed to be a creepy villain, but I kind of have a feeling he's a little bit too creepy. I kind of have a cringe whenever I look at him and hear him talk.
Check.
After Cronston is called away from his chess game, we learn that he is a member of Spectre, and he has devised a plan to steal a Lecter cryptographic device from the Soviets and to sell it back to them, while embarrassing MI6 in the process and getting revenge on James Bond for killing Dr. No in the previous film. Ex-SMERSH operative Rosa Klebb is put in charge of the mission by the cat-stroking, face-shrouded number 1. Klebb chooses Tatiana Romanova, a cipher clerk at the Soviet consulate in Istanbul, to be the Russian pawn in the plan.
It's not the tightest of edits, as you can tell.
Flirting with her at the same time.
Oh.
Take off your jacket.
Turn around.
You're a fine-looking girl.
I have selected you for a most important assignment. Its purpose is to give false information to the enemy.
I know a lot of people love Tanya from Russia With Love, but I just can't help but find her incredibly dull. I don't know if it's the fact that she comes after Honey and before Pussy. Also, she spends quite a lot of the third act just whining.
I know I love you, James. I love you.
Just tell me.
I love you, it's true.
Sure.
Though she's nothing on Stacey Sutton from A View to a Kill.
James! Don't leave me! James! Help me! James! James!
It was on the anti-Stacey Sutton train from early on in this channel.
Quint, Red Grant, to assassinate Bond and Tanya once the mission is complete.
It's amazing to think that we have our 5 main villains of this film only 10 minutes in, considering it was almost an hour and a half before we actually saw Dr. No.
Back in London, Bond is called to M's office.
For my next miracle,
Q, oh my god, he's got a gadget, oh my god, he can test for oil, Q, oh my god.
It'll be a miracle if he can explain where he's been all day.
So M tells Bond that Romanova has contacted their station in Turkey and has offered to defect with the Lecter device, which MI6 and the CIA have been after for years.
The CIA's been after one of those for years.
Yes, oui.
Tatiana has said that she will only defect to Bond, whose photo she has allegedly found in a Soviet intelligence file. In fact, she is following orders from Kleb, who pretends she is working for Smersh, and that this is a Smersh deception. Oh god, I'm already confused. James Bond then receives his first fully fledged gadget of the series, the attaché case. This is the first film to mark an appearance from Desmond Llewellyn, though here he is not credited as Q, but as Boothroyd, as Peter Burton was in the previous film. However, I'll talk about Q in other installments, seeing as at this stage he's still devoid of any memorable personality traits.
Is that all, sir? Yes, thanks very much. Jump.
So Bond flies to Istanbul to meet station head Ali Kerim Bey, though he is followed from the airport by a man in glasses and red grant.
Once again in this film, the Bond theme is used quite a lot, and while I do love the James Bond theme, again, it's used a bit too much. It's punctuating moments that don't need to be punctuated.
I remember this. I remember this little skit.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, seriously, only tip the hotel porter. Was it a big tip or something? I mean, if you're using the Bond theme for that, why not use it for any mundane event?
I'm reading Dr. No there, if you can't tell. I can see a little picture of Honey Rider on the back. Oh god, this is in the basement of my student house. God, this is bringing back memories. This is where I filmed all of this. Oh yep, again, the bathroom in the basement. You can hear the extractor fan of the, dear.
After Kerim Bey's office is bombed, Bond and Kerim Bey spy on the Soviet consulate using a periscope from an underground tunnel beneath the consulate. Seeing rival agent Krylenko, Kerim Bey takes Bond to a gypsy settlement, where Kerim plans to lie low while deciding how to deal with Krylenko.
Ah yes, the gypsy fight. Okay, we're really showing some extended clips from this particular sequence for some reason. Don't know if there's a gag coming up about it, or an attempt at a gag. Oh.
Okay, why are we being shown this?
Yes, quite.
The elders of the tribe will then decide who in the end will marry the chief's son.
Okay. The clips are still going on in the gypsy fight.
I mean, it's a well-choreographed fight scene and everything, it's just a bit pointless. I don't really care about these two gypsy women wanting to marry the same man, I care about if James Bond's gonna get that fucking Lecter.
God. Some aggressive swearing wouldn't be one of these original reviews without some aggressive
Eventually,
swearing.
we get back to the plot, as Krylenko's men attack the gypsy camp. Kerim Bey is wounded by Krylenko, though he gets his revenge the next night. When Bond returns to his hotel suite, he finds Tanya in bed waiting for him. The two engage in some fornicating, unaware that they are being filmed from behind the mirror by Rosa Klebb. Huh, you wouldn't think Klebb was in the amateur porn trade. Bond and Tanya hatch a plan to steal the Lecter, and do just that, before escaping with Kerim on the Orient Express. Because nothing sinister has ever happened on the Orient Express. While aboard the train, Kerim is killed by Red Grant.
There's been a murder on the Orient Express? What were the chances of that happening?
As with Quarrel in Dr. No, Bond is clearly saddened by his friend's death, which gives Bond the motivation to beat Tanya around a bit.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I guess now's a good time for some moderately interesting trivia. Ian Fleming has a cameo in this film as the man in the white jumper as the Orient Express goes by.
Ooh, now that's interesting. I forgot that I made reference to that. Yeah, this is in relation to the, I believe it's I believe it's a myth anyway that that character, the person there in the white jumper, is indeed Ian Fleming, who was pictured on set wearing, similar clothes and what have you. Since then, I made a whole video about this particular thing. You can see that video elsewhere on the channel for a full breakdown, but I did just want to pause just for the disclaimer that I don't believe that that is Ian Fleming at all. I think it is just some farmer looking after his flock as the train goes by. But yes, anyway, on we go.
The train...
I should point out, this was in the age of, the clips that you're seeing here, I think are probably taken from the special edition DVD. Resolution wasn't what it was back then. I'd seen this film on video so many times previously, but now with, Blu-ray and whatnot, it's like you can just get really close and detailed, and yeah, I don't think that it holds up to much scrutiny. But anyway, on we go.
Crosses southern and central Europe to Belgrade, where Bond has arranged to meet Agent Nash from Station Y. However, when the train stops, Quint from Jaws finds and... Grant finds and kills Nash and takes his identity.
Determined to make that into a runner, I was.
Captain Nash. Bond travelling to Somerset. My card.
It is at dinner that
Still
Bond is
love that
tipped off
bit,
that there is something fishy about Nash.
Fishy? Something fishy?
So. And for madam. What about you, Nash?
Yes, it sounds very nice. Make that 3 of those, will you?
Oui, monsieur. I'll have a bottle of the Blanc de Blanc. Oui, monsieur.
Make mine Chianti.
White Chianti, monsieur?
No, the red kind.
Red wine with fish. Well, that should have told me something.
Of course. A true Englishman would know you drink white wine with fish.
Grant poisons Tanya and later subdues Bond. Grant does the traditional Bond villain thing and details the whole evil plot, boasting at how Spectre's pitted the Soviets and the British against each other, and how he's going to kill Bond and Tanya and make it look like a murder-suicide over the film that was taken of the two having sex. Q Branch comes through, however, and the attaché case explodes in Grant's face, and after a brutal struggle with the shark...
Okay.
Bond manages to kill Grant.
I wasn't expecting a clip from Jaws in there. Oh god.
Bond and Tanya leave the train and hijack Grant's getaway car before being attacked by a Spectre helicopter.
Oh, I think I do cut in some North by
This scene
Northwest.
reminds me an awful lot of a scene from another movie. I just can't remember which.
Ah, yes, here we go. Are all the classics in this one? Jaws, North by Northwest. I probably had a great time editing this together, I think. Like I say, getting to grips with editing software and whatever around this time, so it was, yeah, I probably had more fun doing this than I did on any other aspect of the video. Maybe the skit where I was flushing the toilet and stuff, but yeah, this is... This was fun. I yeah, remember enjoying this.
After successfully ripping off North by Northwest, Bond and Tanya commandeer a powerboat. Meanwhile, back at the Spectre boat, Blofeld is unhappy with how creepy Cronston's plan has failed.
Her people failed.
It was your plan. They followed it implicitly.
Impossible. It was perfect.
Except for one thing. They were dealing with Bond.
Who is Bond compared with Kronsteen?
That gives me the creeps.
So, Blofeld has Cronston killed with the old poison tip in the shoe gag, and then sends out a fleet of boats to capture Bond. Of course, Bond manages to blow up the fleet that's following him, but only through one of the stupidest bits of judgment from a Bond villain ever.
Slow down! Slow down! Slow down, all boats!
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Everyone slow down right next to these fuel canisters they've just jettisoned. Fucking guy deserves to burn to death.
That looked like an ad-lib.
So, with the enemies destroyed, Bond and Tanya make it to Venice, and the film's over. Or is it? Yes, Kleb, disguised as a maid, has one last go at Bond before she's shot by Tanya.
Sounded slightly resigned in that voiceover.
And now the film ends, with Bond and Tanya riding away in a gondola, and Bond throwing the sex footage of them both in the water.
Am I going to comment on the whole...
I'm surprised he didn't keep it, really, knowing what Bond's like and all.
Knowing what Bond's like and all.
You haunted me so.
Okay. Well, that wasn't too much of a...
So that's From Russia with Love, the film that many Bond fans consider to be the greatest Bond film of them all. Am I one of those people? Well, no. But that's not to say From Russia with Love isn't one of the finest Bond films. And indeed a fine film in its own right.
What?
One thing I can't fault From Russia with Love on is its great ensemble of villains.
For me, the villains are a large part of the reason why I like this film so much. They're all so well acted and most of all memorable.
What?
Even though a few of them only have a few minutes of screen time, they're all played brilliantly, with Kleb and Grant being amongst my favourite Bond villains of all time. Also in the film's favour is Pedro Armendariz' wonderfully charismatic and warm portrayal of Kerim Bey, one of the more memorable characters to ever appear in a Bond film.
Sorry, I'm just...
I can't say the same for Tanya, and while Daniela Bianchi plays the part well, the character comes over as a bit bland and uninteresting. The film has some great set pieces, such as the battle at the Gypsy Camp and the fight on the Orient Express, but it still feels a little rough around the edges for me. I can see why many critics and fans consider this to be the best Bond film, and I do really like it. Just on a personal level, there are plenty more Bond films I prefer.
Okay.
So, while I must admit I don't think of From Russia with Love as being the greatest Bond film ever, I still think it stands up pretty well. Like Dr. No, it's a great spy thriller with James Bond relying more on his wits and intelligence rather than gadgets.
Huh.
That's all well and good if you hate gadgets in these films, but I fucking love them. That's why I'll be giving a glowing review to the next James Bond film, Goldfinger.
Sorry, I was just slightly taken aback by the amount of positivity on display for the film there. That really took me by surprise. I thought I was going to be as petulant and kind of exaggerating with this film, talking about this film, as I was with my old Thunderball review. So that took me by surprise there at the end. I was surprised referring to it as a very fine film. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it is. But back then I don't remember having that much positive love towards it. So I'm just caught off guard. So that surprised me, actually. I guess my opinions on the film haven't really changed all that much over time then. Like, I still, it's... When I rank all 25 Bond films, From Russia with Love is always in the second half, the bottom half of the ranking. It's a film that I enjoy watching very much, but there are just so many other Bond films that I enjoy more than it, so they just, it just ends up suffering when I rank all of the films out as a result of that. But it is still a film that I really enjoy nonetheless. Still love the villains. Probably, I think... Probably a little bit too harsh on Daniela Bianchi there and Tanya as a character. I think I've grown to like Tanya a bit more over the years. I was also quite complimentary about some of the set pieces. I'm surprised I didn't make more, of like, I love North by Northwest. North by Northwest is one of my all-time favorite films. I'm surprised that I didn't make more of the homage, if we're being generous, to that, the whole plane chasing Cary Grant sequence. Wow, yeah, no, that was all the much more positive than I anticipated it would be. So, As ever, do let me know your thoughts on the film in the comment section below, as well as if you have any memories of this original review back when it was first on the channel. Were you one of the 5 people maybe at that time that saw this when it was first up, and maybe were generous enough to give it a 2-star review in the old YouTube review system? Do let me know in the comment section below. There's links to my various social media pages. Subscribe to the channel, and please do click the Mrs. Bell notification button as well. And with all that being said, and until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.